For these reasons, the Court indicates the following provisional measures. 1. By 15 votes to 2, the State of Israel shall, in accordance with its obligations under the Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide in relation to the Palestinians in Gaza, take all measures within its power to prevent the commission of all acts within the scope of Article 2 of the Convention, in particular, A, killing members of the group, B, causing serious bodily or mental harm to members of the group, C, deliberately inflicting on the group conditions of life calculated to bring about its physical destruction in whole or in part, and D, imposing measures intended to prevent births within the group.
My very first call this year was with Volodymyr Zelensky, who wanted to know that Canada still stood with him, that Canadians still stood with him. And I told him, yes, we do. The Canadian government and most of the parties in the House will continue to stand with him. But Pierre Poilievre and his Conservatives chose to vote against support for Ukraine, calling it a faraway foreign land to appease Putin apologists like Tucker Carlson and those who enable him. But while he does that, we have people like Yvonne Baker and Mark Gerritsen who are showing our Liberal government won't back down when it comes to standing up to bullies and fighting for democracy at home and around the world.
This is my video update on this Friday midday, January the 26th. Let's talk about some news. And that was Prime Minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau, speaking to supporters the other day. And he labeled Tucker Carlson as a Putin apologist. Tucker is a Putin apologist. Trudeau is very upset, very shaken up by the presence of Tucker Carlson in Canada. Tucker is currently in Canada giving speeches, holding various events, sold out events. Thousands of people are coming out to listen to what Tucker has to say while he is in Canada, and Tucker is not saying anything good about Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. So Trudeau decided to tell supporters the other day that Tucker Carlson is a Putin apologist. He is a Putin apologist. Whatever, Trudeau. You know, you brought a Nazi into the Parliament of Canada, and you gave this NAZI a standing ovation with Zelensky, the clown puppet leader, by your side. You gave this NAZI a standing ovation in the Parliament of Canada. Putin apologist, whatever. You can call Tucker anything you want. You brought an NAZI into the Parliament of Canada, Trudeau, and you gave him a standing ovation. Whatever, bro. Whatever. Putin apologist, whatever. So Trudeau, the reports are that Trudeau was so shaken up by Tucker Carlson's presence in Canada that Trudeau, he needed a friendly voice to talk to. And so he decided to call Olaf Schultz that evening and speak to the Chancellor of Germany. And it has been a while since Trudeau has spoken to Olaf. Hey, Olaf, this is Justin Trudeau, Prime Minister of Canada. It's been a long time since we've spoken, Olaf. I just wanted to talk to you and see how you're doing. I'm a bit shaken up because that Putin apologist, Tucker Carlson's in Canada, and he's saying very, very bad things about me. And I just wanted to talk to you, Olaf, and just see how you're doing before I go to bed. And I don't know, maybe I'll see Barbie for the 11th time, and then I'll go to bed. But I wanted to to just give you a ring and see how things are going in Germany, because I've been reading reports that Germany is going through a bit of a rough patch with the de-impersonation policy that you guys have enacted. Trudeau, you idiot. It's de-industrialization. We are going through de-industrialization, not de-impersonation. Trudeau, you idiot. How are you doing, Justin? How are you doing? So, yeah, Olaf Schultz in Germany. That was my segue into the Olaf Schultz update. He gave an interview to the publication Die Zeit, and he told this publication the other day that the rumors about his resigning as Chancellor of Germany, he said, those are fairy tales. It is not going to happen. He also told Die Zeit that all of the economic and political upheaval that is going on in Germany, he said it's understandable, and it's just all a byproduct, all an effect of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. It just happened because Russia invaded Ukraine. Russia invaded Ukraine, according to Schultz, and Germany, for some reason, is going through economic hardship. Has nothing to do with I don't know, the sanctions policy that Germany enacted against Russia. No, the economic trouble has nothing to do with that. Has nothing to do with the blowing up of Nord Stream. Nah, it's, according to Olaf Schultz, it's Russia's invasion of Ukraine, and that's why Germany is going through an economic and political upheaval. And Schultz also defended the Trafficlight Coalition, his government with the Greens, with Annalena 360 and Robert Habeck. He said that the Trafficlight Coalition, they do not shy away from taking difficult decisions. And so he came out to defend Annalena and Robert Habeck. What does Annalena have on Olaf Schultz, man? Or what does Robert Habeck have on Olaf Schultz? I am telling you, he really comes to the defense of the Green Party. It makes you wonder. It makes you wonder what they're holding over Olaf Schultz's head. Or maybe Olaf Schultz has a crush on Annalena 360. I don't know. I don't know what it is. But he defended the policies of his Trafficlight Coalition. So that was Olaf Schultz's interview to Die Zeit. He is not resigning. He is not stepping down. That is what he told the German publication, which to me reads that he is stepping down. When a politician comes out and says, "I am not resigning. I am not pulling out of the race. I am not doing blah blah blah," it usually means that he's pulling out of the race or he is resigning. So anyway, that is Olaf Schultz. Let's now move on to what is happening in Texas. Let's talk about what is happening in Texas. In my video update yesterday, I mentioned that there were 6 or 7 states that showed support for Governor Abbott, and what is happening in Texas as he goes up against Bidenopolis. And in my video update, I said that that as I publish the video and as the day goes along, I imagine more states will come out in support of Texas and Governor Abbott. And boy, did states come out in support of Texas. 25 states are now supporting what Texas is doing as the great state of Texas. Don't mess with Texas as Texas goes up against the Biden White House. 25 states signed a joint letter supporting Texas's border resistance. Abbott, he gave an interview to Fox News, and he said that Texas is going to hold the line. He is not going to back down to the threats made by the Biden White House. And the Biden White House, they have issued a warning saying that Texas has 24 hours to stand down and to stop securing the southern border. 24 hours is what the Biden White House has given Texas and the National Guard. And then what happens? I think that's the big question. Does the Biden White House make a move to federalize the Texas National Guard? Is that the next move? During an election year, the Biden White House is going to go up against Texas and make a move to federalize the National Guard and to tear down the barbed wire and the fencing, and to continue to allow the immigration to stream through the southern border? Is that the plan from the Biden White House during an election year? We will wait and see. But according to Zero Hedge, and they are citing reporting from Punchbowl News, Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, he held a meeting with Republicans, a private meeting with Republicans that was focused on Ukraine. But Ukraine is connected, funding for Ukraine, well, was connected to the southern border. And McConnell, he told Republicans that time is running out to make a deal on the southern border and to get the funding to Project Ukraine. According to Punchbowl News, McConnell told the GOP senators that before border security talks begin, immigration policy united Republicans and Ukraine aid divided them. Politics on this have changed, McConnell said, of solving the crisis at the U.S.-Mexico border. That's because former President Donald Trump wants to run his 2024 campaign focusing on immigration. Quote, "We don't want to do anything to undermine him," McConnell said of Trump, effectively backing away from the border security for Ukraine construct that Republicans have been clinging to the last few months. So this is a really interesting development. I guess one of the side stories of what's happening in Texas is the fact that Ukraine aid was connected to resolving the issue of the southern border, but that has changed now. The dynamics have completely changed around the issue of the southern border with what is happening in Texas at the moment and what Biden might possibly do in Texas or to Texas. And so I think McConnell is saying, look, this whole linkage that has been created between funding Project Ukraine and getting some sort of bipartisan policy for the southern border, that linkage is breaking down. Time is running out. And then he threw in the Trump 2024 campaign, which is correct. Trump is running on securing the southern border. That's one of his main talking points, one of his main campaign pillars. So very interesting dynamics shaping up because of this move from Abbott in Texas. His decision to take matters into his own hands and secure Texas's interests and secure the border of Texas, that border that sees all these immigrants streaming in, and this is going to affect the Ukraine funding. It may have ended any possibility of Ukraine funding because that funding was linked to the southern border. So that is the statement from Minority Leader Mitch McConnell. Now let's move on to the Russia IL-76 story that is also playing out. And yesterday at the UN Security Council, Dmitry Polyansky, the Russian representative at the UN, he said that the shooting down of the IL-76 transport plane carrying 65 Ukrainian POWs, crew members, as well as Russian military personnel, he said that this was a deliberate act by the Zelensky regime, by the Ukraine military. They deliberately shot down this transport plane. This was no accident, according to Dmitry Polyansky, Russia's deputy representative to the UN. He also said that the shooting down of the IL-76 was done using Western weapons. Patriots is what the reports are claiming. Actually, there was a French news show which also claimed that they had spoken to a French military official who claimed that Patriot missiles were indeed used to shoot down this IL-76 transport plane. So Polyansky said that this was done. This shooting down of the plane was done in order to scuttle the prisoner exchange. And here's what he said. All currently available data points to a deliberate, premeditated crime. The Ukrainian leadership was well aware about the route and means by which the Ukrainian soldiers would have been transported to the agreed exchange point. It was not the first such operation. However, for some inexplicable reason, the regime in Kiev had decided this time to sabotage the swap in the most barbaric way, the diplomat said. So, who benefits from derailing this prisoner exchange? Cui bono? Who benefits? It's a tough one to answer, but I'll tell you who doesn't benefit from this, and that is Zelensky. Any way you look at this story or this event, the shooting down of this transport plane, whether it was the Ukraine military that did this deliberately, whether this was an accident, whether this was a miscommunication, whether this was mercenaries that did this, intel agencies, Budanov, I don't know. Whoever did this, it does not benefit Zelensky. So I can't really say who benefits from this action, but who doesn't benefit is the Zelensky regime and the Zelensky government, because this is going to damage his government in a big, big way. So, cui bono? Cui bono? Who does this benefit? Who does this not benefit? Zelensky people in Ukraine, I imagine there's going to be a lot of anger in Ukraine over this incident. Their own POWs shot down by their own military, government, intel agencies, mercenaries working for Ukraine, whatever. This looks terrible for Zelensky. And there are some reports which are coming out which claim that the Ukraine military did this this was a very cynical act in order to send a message to Ukraine soldiers: do not surrender, do not get taken hostage, and do not surrender. That's possible. But for the Zelensky government, this is going to be a very difficult one to spin. Very difficult. And you can tell they're having a hard time spinning this because the narratives, the explanations that they have been putting out there have been very weak, very, very weak. And they put out a couple of new narratives as to what happened with the shooting down of this transport plane. One of the explanations that the Zelensky regime is now floating out to the public is that Russia was going to have some high-level military officials. Hey, buddy. Russia was going to have some high-level military intel officials on this plane, and last minute, the military intel officials, they decided not to get on this transport plane. And I guess the story is that Ukraine got wind of the fact that some high-level military officials were going to be on this plane, and so they decided to shoot down the plane, even though the plane had Ukrainian soldiers on board. I guess what they're trying to say is that it's worth killing 65 Ukrainian soldiers in order to kill some high-level Russian military officials. But that's one of the stories that they're putting out there. The Kiev Independent, they have a post with the title, "Military Intelligence Senior Russian Officials Were Supposed to Be on the IL-76 flight, but did not board." That's such a terrible explanation, isn't it? To go to the families of these POWs that died on this plane, and what's the story that you tell them? What's the explanation? Well, we decided that we thought that this plane was going to have high-level Russian officials on board, and so we targeted the plane in order to get to those Russian military officials, knowing that we would also kill your sons and husbands and loved ones in the process. Is that the message that you really want to give out? But look, that's one of the explanations that they're putting out there. And another explanation that they're putting out there is that Russia should have used a commercial plane. So the Ukraine military, the Zelensky regime, because they're trying to spin these narratives, they're saying that that Russia's to blame because they used a military plane instead of a commercial plane to deliver the POWs, which is nonsense. It's nonsense because look, this prisoner exchange, this must have been planned weeks in advance. So everyone, both sides knew what was going to happen. Both sides knew that the prisoners were going to be brought to the exchange point. They were going to be transported to where they were going to be exchanged. I'm sure both sides knew exactly how those POWs were going to be brought to the site of the prisoner exchange. I imagine that everything was agreed on and planned out weeks in advance. And Ukraine, there must have been people in the military command in Ukraine that knew this plane was carrying POWs. Not one plane, two planes. I mean, they knew that two planes were traveling to the Belgorod region to go forward with this prisoner exchange because it was all planned for that day. It was all set up. So this whole excuse that Russia's to blame because they used a military plane instead of a commercial plane is nonsense. That's complete nonsense. Anyway, that's what they're going with. That's how the Zelensky regime is trying to explain this incident, which the Kremlin is calling a deliberate act of terrorism, a terrorist act. So, the collective West is really not reporting on this too much, which tells you everything you need to know. They are not running with this story at all because it looks so bad. Anyway, the Pentagon, how many more stories do I have? Let's do one more story, and then we'll get to today's clown world. The Pentagon, they are denying new reports that the U.S. is going to be pulling out of Iraq. So yesterday there were reports that the U.S. is going to be pulling out of Syria, and the Pentagon denied those reports. And yesterday we got reports that the U.S. is going to be pulling out of Iraq. 2,500 troops, around 2,500 troops are in Iraq. And the reports from CNN mostly were claiming that U.S. officials had told CNN that the Pentagon is going to be negotiating with the Iraqi government in order to remove their troops from Iraq. And the neocons are furious with this news. And once again, the Pentagon had to come out and say, no, 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 we're not pulling out of Iraq. And we all know that the Pentagon is trying to find a way to pull out of Syria and Iraq. And they're trying to find a way to pull out of Syria and Iraq because the U.S. military is overextended. They want to go to war with Iran, and they understand that if they were to go to war with Iran, then those troops, the 2,500 in Iraq, and something like 1,000 or 2,000 troops in Syria, they're exposed. They're sitting ducks in Syria and Iraq if and when the neocons get their way and a war is started with Iran. So they're trying to figure out a way to get those troops out of there. But you know, the interesting part about this story, here's the crazy part about what is going on here. The neocons, they're pushing for war with Iran. And the Biden White House has said, okay, the Pentagon, the Biden White House, Lloyd Austin, they're saying, okay, let's move towards conflict with Iran. But the Pentagon is saying, okay, if we go ahead and go through with a conflict with Iran, we've got to remove our troops from Iraq and Syria because we can't protect them, and Iran's going to target them. And so they're trying to do that, but the neocons who want the war with Iran are telling the Pentagon, don't you dare remove those troops. Right? You know, this is neocon thinking. It really tells you everything you need to know about the neocons, doesn't it? They don't want those troops to go because it's going to be a sign of weakness or something like that. Or perhaps the neocons want those troops to remain in Iraq and Syria because they do want chaos. They anticipate that Iran is going to hit these bases, and the neocons want this type of chaos because it'll lead to massive escalation. Who knows? But that's what's going on here. It's absolutely crazy what's happening. But you know, it's very similar to what the Biden White House did in Afghanistan. I mean, that was a mess. Pulling out of Afghanistan, they really botched that thing. But they ditched Afghanistan. They got out of Afghanistan because they were planning the conflict with Russia in Ukraine, and so they couldn't have their presence in Afghanistan. It was too much of a risk and resources tied up in Afghanistan. Even though they left something like, I don't know how many billions, $80 billion worth of military hardware. They left it in Afghanistan, but you know, they got out of Afghanistan so they can free everything up in order to focus on Project Ukraine. They're trying to do something similar in the Middle East with Iran. Not exactly the same thing, but something similar. But the neocons, they don't want any of this. No pulling out. No pulling out of Iraq. No pulling out of Syria. And we want the conflict with Iran. Oh boy. Anyway, that is what's going on there. And maybe a couple more stories. How am I doing on time? Yeah, I can do a couple of more stories and we will wrap this video up. Let's see, from Bloomberg, most of Russia's war chips are made by US and European companies, according to Bloomberg. Customs data shows Russia imported chips made in the USA and the EU in 2023 re-exports from third countries weaken sanctions on Russia. That's from Bloomberg. More washing machine chips stuff. They can't get past that. They can't get past the washing machine chips narrative. They're never going to let that one go. Never, ever, ever. Never, ever, never, ever are they going to let the washing machine chips narrative go. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. And the foreign minister of Hungary, Peter Szijjártó, he said the other day, how did it happen that Russia became the largest supplier of uranium to the United States last year? The U.S. has paid Russia over $500 million, but when we buy Russian gas, we become sponsors of war. Nobody wants to jump on the back of a lion. It's easier to trample Hungary. 100%, Mr. Szijjártó. Not only uranium, but from what I understand, the UK, London insurance companies have also been insuring ships carrying Russian oil. So, yeah, they're allowed to do these things. But when Hungary decides to look after its national interests, its energy security, and continue to do business with Russia, well, Hungary is a sponsor of war. The Biden White House, they also imported Russian oil in November and in October and November of 2023. Yep. Peter Szijjártó is, and Hungary, the only ones who are revealing the truth and the hypocrisy of this conflict with Russia and of Project Ukraine. And Politico, they put out an article with the title, Can Europe Stand Alone? Can Europe stand alone and face Putin? And they are sounding the alarm bells of a Trump presidency, claiming that when and if Trump becomes president, Europe is going to be left alone to face the Putin. Can Europe stand up to the Putin alone? No, it can't. No, it can't. Europe cannot stand up to the Putin with the United States. So obviously they're not going to be able to stand up to the Putin by themselves. And why should they? Why should they go up against Russia and the Putin? They should be working with Russia and the Putin. Doing business with Russia is what they should be doing. That's what they were doing until Biden came along and ruined all of that. But that's the article from Politico. They're very worried about a Trump presidency. Very, very worried about a Trump presidency. And Trump ditching Europe, ditching NATO even, and focusing on the interests of America and its people. They don't want any of that. Don't leave Europe. Please don't leave us alone. Please, please, Trump, don't abandon us. It's some sovereignty that Europe has there, huh? Oh boy, let's do a clown world. We'll wrap this video up. And Hillary Clinton, she put out this tweet following the Academy Awards nominations, where Ryan Gosling, he got nominated for Best Supporting Actor for his portrayal of Ken doll in the movie Barbie. But Margot Robbie did not get a nomination for her portrayal of Barbie in the movie Barbie. And this has upset a lot of people, including Hillary Clinton. And she tweeted, Greta and Margot, while it can sting to win the box office but not take home the gold, your millions of fans love you. You're both so much more than Kenough. Ken-uff. Hashtag Hillary Barbie. Kenough. Hashtag Hillary Barbie. Oh, man. And Trudeau, he retweeted this post from Hillary. No, I don't know. I don't know if he reposted it. But yeah, Ryan Gosling, look out, man. Watch your back. Watch your back, Ryan. Hillary's not happy with you. She's had enough. She's had enough of you, Ryan Gosling. She's upset that you got nominated for an Academy Award. Watch out. Watch out, Ryan. And one more, Clown World. The United States plans to help Ukraine switch to a new measurement system. The Pentagon advised Ukraine to abandon the metric system and adopt the one in force in the United States. This will simplify document flow between the military departments of the two countries, and it will reduce the percentage of errors associated with the use of U.S. weapons. Yeah. The measurement system, the metric systems that were being used, the differences in the metric systems between Ukraine and the United States, yeah, that's the reason for the collective West's defeat in Ukraine. Change the metric systems, and everything will be okay, right? All right, everybody. That's the video. The Duran.locals.com. We are on Rumble, ODYSEE, BitChute, Telegram, Rockfin, and Twitter X. And go to the Duran shop. Use no code, 15% off all t-shirts. Take care.